It's round 4 of the Norway Chess Classic, and Carlsen is only 14 points ahead of Caruana on the FIDE ratings, meaning that if Caruana wins this game, then Carlsen would only be 4 points ahead. But instead, Carlsen managed to turn all around, and it was all thanks to this win with the black pieces. Carlsen's playing black, Caruana is playing white. And black is up a pawn in the queen endgame, which is certainly a nice position to be in. But what you're going to notice is how hard it is for black to make progress. Like, if the queen runs too far away, white's just going to give perpetual check against the black king. So black moves the pawn up, trying to fix the weakness. And at the moment, the dream is to try and queen the pawn. But right now, it's not so obvious how we actually do this. Let's say, for example, if you play e5 here. Well, now you're just opening up your king to even more checks. So that's not really great either, yeah? But in the game, black played queen a1. And I mean, that's the first step. Like, just keep the game going. Just keep the game going on. And that will give you more chance to squeeze the blood out of the stone in Carlsen style. Anyway, here black makes his first attempt at progress. The move e5, pushing the passed pawn. It's what Nimzovich said back in the day, passed pawns must be pushed. And for the moment, white doesn't have an immediate perpetual check. White doesn't even have a good check on the king right now, because the pawn and the queen act as a shield. Queen c7 is played trying to get in from behind. Black now doesn't play the move of g6, because then white will just start giving checks and keep the queen in the center and just make it really hard for black to make progress. Like if you go e4, then white's just going to start checking you all over the place, and it's not going to be fun, let's put it like this. So black instead plays queen d4. And this next move of Carlsen might surprise you a little bit, because he doesn't try to defend the pawn with a move like g6 or a move like e4 or something like this, which would kind of allow white just to keep giving checks or even just block the pawn with the king. But instead he says, let's just get that king running. And if you're enjoying the video so far, do make sure to leave a like and also to subscribe to the channel for more content like this. And already white has to be careful, because queen d1 mate is a threat. And if you try to give a check, black's going to counter check. And suddenly this pawn ending is actually going to be winning for black. Because we go e4, we use that pawn as a bit of a decoy to get their pieces out of the way. Like e3, king e2. And what's going to happen is, like, if they try to stop our pawn, we're just going to set up this position here, where the pieces are going to come in and, something after king e1, king e3, it's just complete zugzwang. Like, it's not stalemate, because white has to, let black take the pawn, and then we just win. So, you can't just trade in a pawn ending. You've got to be a bit careful here as white. Players are quite low on time. Well, Caruana is certainly very low on time here. He plays king g1, good move to get the king to safety. Black plays e4. White starts giving some checks, as you do in the queen endgame. But after king h1, e3, it's very easy to feel that isn't white just lost in this position? Isn't that going to be the case we're just going to queen our pawn? Well, white plays the move of queen a6, king f2, and now where's your check? If you play the move of queen a2, like isn't e2 and isn't the pawn just queening? You might be wondering. Well, in the game, Caruana blundered with the move king to h2, and after the move e2, it's all over. White just doesn't have a good check in the position. And the problem is, if you play a move like, let's say, queen to a2 at this point, trying to stop the pawn queening, black's just going to play queen d6 and just bring the queen in and, just give checkmate, right? And it turns out the drawing line with queen a2 is, like, very, very complicated. Like, even Carlsen thought that, this position was just going to be a forced win for black, and, clearly Caruana thought the same, given that he didn't play into this sequence. But it turns out we're a very narrow set of moves you can actually save the game as white, and let me see if I can show you this really crazy variation that comes up. Like king d2, and, the king runs here and, tries to shield away from the checks, but it turns out black actually doesn't really have a breakthrough. Like, let's say you play king d1 here. White's just going to be able to just keep, like, popping the queen back and forth, and whichever way the king goes, white's just always going to have the right check to kind of, repeat moves or, go back to the fortress, as it were. It's kind of hard to explain, but somehow, even though the pawn is one square from queening, black just doesn't really have a way to actually win from this position. White has like a perpetual check fortress, if that makes sense. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this training. Let me know in the comments below. How much longer do you think Carlsen is going to be the highest rated player on the FIDE classical ratings? Do you think that, he's going to be around, until, chess finally dies? Do you think that, these young guns are going to overtake me next year or two? let me know what you think. And yeah, I will see you in the next training. Take care.